welcome to the session and thank you so much for joining for this conversation. It was much awaited, especially coming in from Mahindra Financial Services, which has set the precedence of doing apprenticeship in the NBFC sector. So
Thank you.
Once again, and of course, welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sumit. Nice talking to you.
Yeah. So I remember it was exactly 6 years back. It was September of 2014 when we started our first conversation about the apprenticeships, and it was about it was more of a concept at that point of time. How do you leverage on apprenticeship, and the fact that it took another 9 months before you got started. It was really due diligence which was done, before you kind of got started on the apprenticeship. So how has the journey been, if I would look at in the last 6 years or 5 years?
I think this journey related to apprenticeship has been really good. The organization has actually been benefited a lot from the, I would say, in case if I look at it from the business angle, the business heads have started talking about how we are utilizing our apprenticeship trainees and how we are actually able to use them effectively in the business for and enabling them to grow. How it's also useful for the organization from the side of looking at how they are able to contribute, because we are also surprised actually when we started it. We actually got surprised that yes, even an apprentice is able to contribute while they learn and while they're able to learn from the job as well as from the mentoring program that we had set up from them. The contribution was also substantial. So it has actually flowed really well for us in the organization. In Mahindra Finance, now we talk about it and we vouch for this program.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what really prompted you to look at apprenticeship as an avenue to explore?
Yeah, see, we had the steady state of employees joining us directly on rolls of the company. We don't take contract employees for any non-seasonal job. The operations job, it's basically on rolls of the company. We said in case if we can create certain programs where we are able to create talent, or we are able to build talent and skill which is readily available to us, so that whenever there's a requirement of permanent talent or employees who could actually take up higher responsibilities, we could actually have these people who are coming through this program to actually take up those positions. So it was a kind of talent management intervention, a career development talent management intervention at the lowest level, because here we are talking about people who are coming with zero experience and undergraduates or graduates. So that was the level that we were basically targeting, and that was actually the level where we had most of the people getting hired.
So was it a challenge? And you said that you're largely looking at the full-time employment and employees, what you were looking for. So is it that you were facing a challenge in hiring the kind of people that you were looking for, which prompted you to look at this avenue for talent creation?
See, we were getting people from the market. So it was not that we were not getting employees or candidates from the market. But here what we started doing is we were actually starting where we were building people who could learn the job, who could actually grow and take up higher positions. So this gave us an additional benefit at extreme low cost, because then we had to also match it up with saying that if we are actually creating a bench of candidates who are going to walk in and who is going to learn while they are doing their job, it should also be fruitful for the organization. So there was a good balance which we got, and actually it is a talent integration program. We actually brought this talent in and we could use them effectively. Now the talent that we used to get from the market in the kind of locations where we serve, we are actually in the tier 3 and tier 4 kind of locations across the country. It used to take a longer time, because for us as employers, every business lost or every dealership relationship lost is a problem for us. So with TeamLease or with the Apprenticeship Act trainees joining us, we were actually able to convert this issue into a very good solution, which is still already working fine for us.
Fantastic. So apprenticeship has really turned out to be more business. I would say it's contributed to the business growth as well.
Directly. These are nowadays it's being spoken in the senior management discussions. So it has really been fruitful to the organization.
Fantastic. So you've been, doing it for about now 5.5 years now. You've been executing it. What are the roles that you look? I mean, you hire these apprentices for. How do you go about executing your apprentice? So maybe you would like to throw light on the entire model of apprenticeship that you are executing.
See, role-wise, the majority of roles that we have are the main operations, the loan servicing operations and the collection operations. That's the mainstay. And there the opportunities are also large. Vacancies also, the projections are also much larger. The budgets are also much larger. But I have not restricted, or as an organization, we have never restricted ourselves only to look at operations. We have been hiring for apprentices, even for accounts, for HR. I used to have at least 4 people continuously. There are 3 or 4 people who are working with me in my department. Apart from us, we have also used them in other support functions like marketing and all, marketing, corporate communication and all. So I would say that for us, it is something where we are able to get students or get graduates or undergraduates early in their stage of career, and then we are able to train them, mentor them, and the attitude that we see, because they are able to see that there is a clear connection between their able to learn the job and able to build their own skills to actually getting absorbed whenever there is a vacancy or a budget in the organization. So though that's the reason why the flow is really good. What we usually do is we hire these apprentices as apprentices, and then they are mentored by employees who are at mid-management level in the organization. There is a continuous review of their of what they have learned, of their skill, of whether they are able to meet the minimum performance related commitments that we take. So there is a clear undertaking that we have, saying that okay, yes, this is in the initial 3 months you should have at least learned a skill and you should have grown to a level of producing up to this much, and then how will you grow. So we have a workbook that is created. The book is actually given to him at the beginning, and then he has to continuously submit this workbook with his mentors feedback to our organization, to the HR department on a continuous basis. So we are able to monitor his performance. We are able to monitor his skill, and as soon as there is an opportunity inside the organization, we need not look outside. All right. On an average, while I was checking in the last financial year, around 4% of our total manpower intake has been through this route, and it has been constant. Yeah, 4% of the employee of the total trainees that we have are continuously moving up. See,
fantastic.
We are. I can actually also talk about people who have become middle managers who were earlier around 5.5 years who started working with us also. So there are a lot of such people, including in my department. There are examples of people who actually joined us as apprentices and now front-facing or actually handling a position which is in the middle management level.
That's really nice to hear that. That's really nice to hear that. Yeah. So I think you've really, you and your organization really broken the myths around apprenticeship that, apprenticeship traditionally has been for the manufacturing, but you being into NBFCT have started doing apprenticeships, set the example for the industry. Also in terms of the job roles that you mentioned, which traditionally have never had apprenticeship, like for example, in the marketing or in HR or finance that you were just speaking about. Usually you don't get to hear that apprenticeships in these roles. But the fact that you've been able to groom talent through this particular channel, I think that's really, really phenomenal. I would say that. So tell me, like you said that you also have a very, you have set the milestones to assess the progress, what they make, and there's a continuous feedback mechanism which is there, which helps them to improve their performances. So on what are the parameters that you go and assess the progress of these people?
Parameters would be different functionally depending on which function they are in, but it's a mix of functional skills that they have to deliver on. It's about the attitude that they have to bring in and the kind of discipline that they have brought in, as well as what is the minimum level. So there are thresholds that we have kept depending on the number of months that they spend with us. We say that how are you able to produce, and what are the kind of in loan language, actually we can talk about defects, because in a manufacturing language, actually defects are products. For us, defects are the outstanding loans, are the NPAs, or the non-collection related the customers where you have not met and all. So those are the defects for us. So how are those things getting managed, and how are you able to continuously improve, upskill yourself, and improve your own methodology and style of performing? These are certain elements. Getting into details of it, obviously, the depending on what particular assignment apprentice is put into, it differs from one plan to another. But it's usually around the job role that has been allocated.
Vinod, we also hear that that you've also done a lot of adoption of digitization in these apprentices. Would you want to throw light on that?
Yeah, we were actually facing a lot of issues with respect to handling these trainees, because then we had a substantial number. We had more than 2,000 apprentices working with us. So then we got a solution on how to manage them. And this solution, now we are actually using it only for managing their attendances, tracking the employees, as well as ensuring that the exits and the recording of the database of employee is correct. All right. So my team is satisfied, and they're actually quite happy that now something that used to take 8 to 10 days as a transaction or as a job for them, now it has come down to around 3 to 4 days time. So it's 50% time saved, effort saved, because of the digitization that has happened.
Great to hear that. Vinod, you mentioned that about 4% of the people have got absorbed and they constitute. Sorry, I know that's correct statement on it. Whether the 4% of the people are part of your workforce, the 4% are the people who actually graduated from apprenticeship to your employees.
Yes.
But otherwise, your monthly or an annual take of these apprentices into the employment.
Sorry?
What is your absorption rate of these apprentices into employment on an annual basis?
Annual, it could be roughly around 20%.
Yeah. But do you also have
on the season? It also depends on the season. 20% of the employment strength, we say that okay, we can let's have a look at how we could start recruiting through the apprentices.
But would you also want to let us know what has been the dropout rate? Like, do you have dropouts?
For the kind of jobs that we have been giving, I do see a dropout, but the dropout is more. It's not a immediate or a short-term dropout. These are people who are able to work with us, and then in the long run, there are dropouts. At an annual level, while I was reviewing this, at an annual level, the dropout is quite substantial, 30%. But it is not too different from the fleet on street kind of dropouts in the industry. I don't see it as something which is higher than what is available in the industry. So it's at the same level actually.
So what is, as per your assessment, what are the reasons for people not to complete their apprenticeship and drop out? Is it the job role, what they're getting into, or what it could be, or they don't want to be an apprentice?
Agreed. So it is basically during the apprenticeship while they're working with us, since we are operating out of the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 locations, the apprentices usually get job opportunities closer to their residence, their hometown, and based on their likes and dislikes. Not everyone would want to pursue a career in a field job forever. So if they get a job in some other organization in a accounting role or in a role which is closer to their preferences, they call it personal reasons, but these are the kind of things whenever we have deep dive, these are the reasons that are coming on, saying that they have got a job, either a government job or they've got a job closer to their hometown. These are primarily some of the reasons.
And is it a concern for you?
Not at all. I am able to constantly, steadily get the employees onboarded. It does not seem to be an issue.
As we just mentioned, that it's a precedent that you have set for the industry to have apprenticeship. And I'm sure that when you were onboarding this entire program, you would have faced certain challenges. And even when you got it, while executing, there would be some teething problems. So would you want to elaborate on that, and how did you overcome those challenges?
More than a teething issue, like you said, actually it was something, the apprentices program, basically it is something that's only prevalent until now, even in our mind, it is only in the manufacturing industries, and they have been using it effectively. For us, it was a mindset change, because when I approached my seniors with this idea, they were not even ready to believe it. So they said that no, it's not possible, because we feel that no, this is only for factories. You put people in on apprenticeship and then they grow from there. So it needed a bit of coercion, marketing, sales, all the skills. And I think we were able to convince them. There were multiple rounds of discussion for sure. It's not that it was so easy and they could accept it. But then at least after 3 to 4 rounds, including meeting senior persons who were involved in the process, I think we could crack it. But that was more of a mindset issue.
Okay.
After it has been implemented, the initial times, it was just that since we had been taking only people on roll, we used to never have apprentices or contract employees also. It used to only be on rolls employees. So it was also a cultural change for the organization, because they were treated as a separate creed. As soon as they walk in, they used to be treated as an outsourced employee. Whereas later on, actually, it has seeped in. It has actually become an integral part of the organization now. Now we don't recognize anyone saying that this is an outsourced employee who's an apprentice, basically, and this is an on-rolls employee. So all of us are employees, and everyone is treated at par, because perhaps the first batch of trainees or apprentices whom we had actually proved and can build the credibility for others. So they are now treated equally with the similar respect that everyone else deserves.
Fantastic. So it was more to do with a mind, mindset and a shift mindset that was required to get started. And now, of course, you have tasted the proof of the pudding. So
now the belief is much larger. Credibility is established.
Great. So now I would say that 4% of your workforce is under apprenticeship, 20% absorption rate. Is it be okay for me to say that now apprenticeship is part of your hiring and talent development strategy?
Surely. It's actually part of my strategic workforce planning. When I do a workforce planning, I say these many employees are going to be hired, these many apprentices I'm going to hire, and it sails through. In the last 6 years, that is one change that has happened. That the questioning has become lesser, because it's become a business case. We have actually been able to present a business case where we are able to prove to the management that yes, when we hire apprentices, we are able to create talent which is internally getting absorbed. People who are ready for absorption, and people who are we are able to see the performance and skills also before absorption. So it's already proving that, and we are also able to show to them, saying that how is it actually going beneficial from the organization's business perspective.
Good. So it's not only for the time, but even it makes business sense, as you mentioned a while back, and now also.
Yeah.
Part of your business strategy.
Yeah. It is part of the discussions.
Very good. So 5 years, or more than 5 years now, you said that it's working well for you. So would you want to highlight the qualitative and the quantitative benefits that your organization see, through apprenticeship? Would you want to list them down for us?
Quantitative benefits, I have not. I'm not prepared yet on the quantitative side, but there is a clear quantitative benefit in terms of the kind of ease with which we are able to create this bench and able to absorb people who are already good, highly skilled kind of apprentices. Qualitatively, it is. I would say, in case if I have to compare, I would say that it is a clear benchmark that has been created now. Saying that if the apprentices who are just trainees who are able to do it, how can I improve the productivity of the on-rolls employees who are already working with us with experience? So that benchmark has been created, and in our various analysis, we are able to present that. So qualitatively, it's the entire experience, the program, the outcome of the program, which is beneficial from the productivity angle for the organization, cost angle for the organization, it's automatically proving for itself.
Great. So emphasizing on the productivity part of it, you find that they are productive resources.
Sure.
So, I mean, would you want to again throw some light if you were to draw comparisons with the people who have been taken through apprenticeship and people who are externally hired? How would you want to compare the productivity of the people?
Now it is important. It is difficult to compare now because as I told you, a lot of people are actually joining in directly from the team from the apprenticeship program itself. And on the other side, the other people who are joining are basically from the industry, someone who's having 3 to 4 years experience in the industry.
Okay.
So comparably, I'm able to see that the people who are moving in are much more culturally assimilated. They are people who have learned the processes the right way from the mentors who have been allocated to them, and they have learned it the hard way because then they have seen the bad times, they have seen the good times, and then they have actually stayed back with the organization. So culturally, functionally, they are much more adaptable to the organization than the people who are coming in from a competitor, and they stay back in for a. While I'm talking to you, I'm also getting an idea about doing a stay analysis of people whom we have absorbed. Let's have an understanding of how many people have been retained.
That's what I was about to ask you now in my next question. That do you see that these people tend to stay longer as compared to your external?
Let me be frank, I have not done this analysis, but it's just something offhand that I'm thinking of. It's something that I will surely get back. I'll have to do this analysis.
Great, great. Would you want to share any example or any anecdote with us where you saw that the apprentice has performed exemplary or has reacted to a situation, which is beyond expectation, and that kind of has stayed or has made a mark on your memory?
Okay. At least in HR, because I know of a person, like I told you, that there is a person who's been working with me for the last 4 years now. Not the first batch, but perhaps the second or third batch. 4 years now. She was taken as an apprentice in the talent acquisition team, and she started out as a person who was learning the job. So we had given her the basic job of ensuring that she is able to shortlist candidates from from Naukri.com or other portals, able to do all the background work and the documentation activities, onboarding activities. So from there, we were able to see that this person was able to prove herself in 1 year's time, and we didn't wait beyond that. In 1 year, we actually absorbed her into the organization as an officer, and she's currently working as an officer. She's pursuing her further studies, and she's got 2 job rotations as well. All right, so she's moved from talent acquisition, the basic job, to actually having or mentoring team leads trainees under her. So there are apprentices who have joined under her, and she's actually grown up to take up the role of onboarding and talent acquisition. And now she has actually moved into another role, and she's playing a larger role now.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And just in 4 years, that means 3 years after she has been absorbed by the organization.
Great, great. I'm sure, I think for any of the graduates or any of the people who are looking for an apprenticeship, your organization should be the most sought after.
Yeah, I think it all depends on how you look at apprenticeship. If you look at apprenticeship as a use and throw kind of a system, then it would actually not yield any results for you. If you use apprenticeship as a program which is creating a good talent input or a talent database for your organization, and you are able to create a lot of, you are able to put a lot of efforts into this, I think it would be useful for the organization in the long run. It would surely be useful for the organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it seems like that apprenticeship has paid off for your company at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, sure.
So would you want to make any recommendations to your peers in the industry on apprenticeships?
I think it all starts from the objective. If the objective of your organization is to not only look at product profitability, but also support employment generation in the country, it should start from there also. It's not only about just talking about productivity, performance, and profits. It's also about how you're able to generate value for the country as well as for the organization. In the entire discussion that we had, I actually talked only about creating value for the company. But there is something beyond that, and that's something that I have imbibed from my seniors. when we looked at saying that due to the recent amendments, we also said that in case if there is a graduate, we need to train them for higher studies.
Yeah.
If there's an undergraduate, we need to ensure that they get trained for the graduation. So we are looking at it as a value add for the person whom we have hired, because I'm not looking at this person as a 3 months or a 6 months or a 1 year intern. I'm looking at this person to become an employee or become a force in the organization. So if you have a long-term vision, then this is actually a program which is going to help. And to be frank, I have been getting calls from industry colleagues, and I have been constantly being optimistic about this program and constantly ensuring to them that we have got all the benefits, and I'm assuring them that they will also start deriving those benefits. And these are big houses who have been in touch with us.
Great, great. I think great to hear these thoughts of yours. I think it only resonates the culture that Mahindra has, which is very enabling for the apprenticeship and more so for the learning, that there has to be a continuous learning, which is there. Thank you so much, Vinod, for sparing the time. I think I've had great time, having conversation with you. Very inspiring, and I'm sure it's going to inspire many more, not just the youth, but many organizations also to take up apprenticeships. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumit, for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.